Hello, my lovies, and welcome to Divination Death Witch. I'm Rain, and today we are going to be starting a new series here on the YouTube channel. This is going to be kind of like the Am I the Asshole YouTube channels that I follow and love, but instead of Am I the Asshole, we're going to be looking at stories and posts from witchcraft and paranormal Reddits. We'll be reading them and then I will be giving my 2 cents on them as a longtime witchcraft pagan practitioner and as a medium. If you know of a Reddit post that you would like me to respond to, feel free to send it to me. You can use the Discord to message them with me. The link is in my link tree, which is in the description box below. And if you have your own story or Reddit post in one of these topics, you can send that to me as well. Before we dive into today's Reddit post, I just want to remind you that even though I did close the Etsy shop, I am still offering readings and services through my website, or you can hit me up through my Discord. The links to everything are in the description box below. As I said, just follow my link tree. And don't forget about our amazing Patreon. There is daily content in our Patreon. There are free and paid tiers, so there is something for everyone. I've this month started doing a Magic of Houseplants series over on the Patreon. There is Witchcraft 101 material available every month, as well as more advanced witchcraft educational material for the paid tiers, the newsletter, monthly tarot scopes, a monthly charm casting, and more. So be sure to check out the Patreon so that you don't miss out. Without any further ado, let's jump into today's Reddit post. This is from the Witchcraft Experiences subreddit, user Ganache Asleep, and it's titled The Shadowman. The post says, okay, so I moved out of my mother's and started living with now the OP leaves out whatever word they meant. We could probably guess it's probably significant other, but so they moved out of their mother's house and they moved in with somebody else. But for as long as I can remember, I've seen the Shadow Man like since I was 5. It's just a human shadow that appears in the corner of my eye all the time. I just moved back in with my mother and he's been showing up more. My grandfather passed away this month, the night after the Shadow Man showed up again. I've seen him so much more since then, but my stepfather saw him just the other day, and now adult teeth are appearing in my mother's jewelry box. We're all freaked out, but I don't think this was the Shadow Man. He's been here my entire life and has never done a thing. I think it's something different entirely, and I'm wondering if you have any idea how I might get rid. My mother has burnt sage and we have protective crystals, but I wonder what else we can do. I mean, an adult tooth showed up in my mom's jewelry box. We have no clue where it came from. Any ideas? Now, I do apologize if that was not the smoothest of readings. This person didn't really use any punctuation. A lot of words are merged together. I'm not sure if maybe English isn't their first language. It's fine. But if I stumbled over it a little bit, it's because a lot of words are jumbled together. There's not much punctuation, and I am dyslexic, so I apologize if it was not the smoothest of readings. But I thought this was interesting, so let's talk about it, because I've honestly wanted to talk about shadow people for a long time on the channel, and I just feel like this is an opportunity to kind of give a short little my 2 cents on the topic. The birds are really chirping outside my apartment today, and I'm almost sorry that the microphone doesn't pick them up. I really enjoy it, but it also is a little bit distracting with my ADHD as I try to do this episode. So when we talk about shadow people in paranormal and witchcraft circles, they tend to be talked about as if they are one singular thing. And I, for a very long time, have not found that to be the case. When we talk about shadow people, I think we're actually talking about a group of varied types of spirits, or if you want perhaps even interdimensional beings. I know that sounds a little woo-woo to say, but bear with me. I don't know that it really matters if you think of them as different types of spirits from different places in the spirit realm, or if you think of them as interdimensional beings. There is science to support the fact that there are multiple dimensions, etc., etc. We're not going to hash that out in this episode. Whether you want to think of them as being from different places in the spirit realm or different dimensions, that is entirely up to you. I'm not here to tell you which of those to believe because none of us can prove one way or the other. But the point being is, these are not one set of spirits that you can clearly define and say they are this, 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 and this. Oftentimes, people will refer to negative experiences with shadow people, or they project negativity onto shadow people. And while I do think there are negative shadow people, shadow spirits, that is not the case for all of them. So I have encountered some negative shadow people or shadow spirits over the years. For those of you who are new, I am a medium. I have been seeing and interacting with the spirit world since I was a child. So I've had a lot of experience with them over the years, and I have found more so than not that the shadow people I saw more often throughout my life were what I like to think of as some type of guardian or watcher, because they were there observing. They didn't do anything negative, they didn't do anything positive, they were just there. And so there's been some other experiences I have had as well. I don't think that when we talk about shadow people, we are talking about one thing, right? Guess the best analogy I can give in terms that might make it a little easier to understand the concept I'm trying to convey here. So when we talk about shadow people, it's like talking about Sasquatch, but meaning all cryptids, right? Because under the umbrella of cryptids is all these different creatures, all with their own lore and their own personalities, behaviors, traits, etc. So when we talk about shadow people, oftentimes they're talked about, to equate it to the cryptids, they're talked about as if they are all Sasquatch instead of being a category of very different creatures or entities, right? So I think that part of what we need to do is shift the way we talk about them, that we're not talking about them as if they are a singular thing, but as if it is a very broad category that encompasses many different types of spirits or entities, and they all have their own agendas, characteristics, and behaviors. The sense that I am given from this short post on Reddit is that the Shadowman this OP has been seeing since they were small is probably something akin to the Watchers or Guardians that I experienced. This shadow spirit has no ill intent, no ill will. It is just there observing. Now, why do they observe? I don't know. I don't. Some things are beyond my pay grade, even though I am a medium. I do not have all the answers. But from the sounds of it, this shadow man is like some of the ones I've experienced that are just there to basically observe and perhaps report back. What they are reporting back to, again, I do not know. I have never communicated with any of the shadow men of this type that I have personally experienced. They are not chatty. They don't talk to me. They don't give me any sort of messages or anything like that. They are simply there watching. Now, don't get me wrong, that can be creepy in and of itself, but I don't get a sense from them that they mean me any harm. And I really think that is the case for this shadow man that this OP has been experiencing. I do agree with the OP. I think that whatever has made the tooth show up in the mother's jewelry box is a separate entity entirely. And by entity, I don't necessarily know that it is a supernatural or ghostly entity. It could be a human entity. A lot of things that we do not know about the OP's family, the OP's family dynamics. We don't know anything about the OP's stepfather We cannot rule out that the tooth showing up in the mother's jewelry box is not just a prank put there by a human. OP doesn't say if they have any siblings or not, and if any siblings are in the home, visiting, or living there as well. So we don't know. The tooth could have been placed as a prank in the mom's jewelry box by the stepfather, a sibling, anybody else maybe who is staying at the house. We don't know. So we cannot rule that out. We have to consider the possibility that the tooth has a mundane, real world explanation. To get to the bottom of this, I would recommend putting a camera that is viewing the jewelry box directly. It doesn't have to necessarily view anything else in the room if the OP and their mother does not want it to, but I would recommend placing a camera that only the OP and their mother know about. That way, if this is a prank, you will find out who is doing it, and B, if it is something paranormal, you may be able to catch something on tape, if you will, then to get a better idea of what is going on. Now, let's talk about what it could be if this is something paranormal. Chances are that adult tooth existed somewhere in the house in this real physical plane. Either maybe somebody had a wisdom tooth pulled and they kept it because some dentists will let you keep your wisdom teeth when you have them pulled. Or, somebody could have lost a tooth. The OP doesn't say if this is a whole intact tooth. I had a tooth break about 2 years ago now, and I was eating a Twizzler, which, you wouldn't think a tooth would break on that, but I did. I broke a molar on a wisdom tooth, and half the tooth came out, but half the tooth stayed in. So this could be a piece of a tooth. It also maybe could be somebody's crown that fell off, and that they don't describe the tooth. So this could be part of a tooth. It could be a crown or something that came off, or a veneer. It could be an old wisdom tooth that somebody had taken out and then kept. And it could, obviously, the OP would know if they had adult teeth laying around the house. I would think the mother would know too. But this tooth could belong to someone in the house, or it could belong to a previous tenant. But I do feel like the tooth would have had to have existed on the physical plane in the house prior to this point. The OP, and perhaps the OP's mother as well, were just not aware of the tooth's presence. Now, if this is a spirit, there could be a couple of different reasons why the spirit is relocating the tooth into the jewelry box. One could be just shock value, because some people are disconcerted with finding human teeth. Again, also, we need to consider the possibility that this is not an adult human tooth. It could be out of, the jawbone of a cow or something else. We don't know if this family collects oddities, has any oddities, if somebody associated with them maybe had oddities, if the previous tenants of the house kept oddities, that maybe this is just the tooth of a large animal that fell out of a jawbone or a skull. That possibility exists also, but I digress. The spirit is moving the tooth from somewhere else in the house to the mother's jewelry box. It could be that the spirit is just mischievous and is wanting to get a rise out of them. Or there could be a message here. To the spirit, this is indicating something that they feel the people in the house, the OP and their mother, should know or be aware of or have attention drawn to. The thing is, when you're communicating with spirits, it's not like me talking to you necessarily. Sometimes it'll be more similar to that. But for the most part, it's like trying to put together a puzzle. A lot of spirits speak more in symbols than in direct language like you and I do. I have had some things, like I have heard phrases or things like that. I have had encounters where for a moment I thought that there was an actual person there, and then it turned out not to be a person. It was in fact a spirit. So those instances can happen, but when you're communicating with spirits, it's usually symbolism. And this is definitely this spirit symbol for something, if it's not just the spirit being mischievous to get a rise out of them. the OP and their mother need to figure out what that symbol is. Now, obviously, it is causing them some concern. It is making them feel uneasy. This spirit that is relocating the tooth may mean no harm, but since it is making them uneasy, a good cleansing and blessing of the home would be something that I would definitely recommend. People think that sage is the be all end all and that it will get rid of everything. It does not. Their crystals don't banish anything or anything. They are there to give a sort of protective barrier. But if there's something already in the home, it could actually just function to keep it in the home rather than to get it out of the home, depending on the crystals and how they have them set up and all of that, which we don't know. We don't know if they have crystal grids, if they just have a random crystal in the living room, if they've got crystals in the bedroom, if they've put a crystal grid around the jewelry, but we don't know if they've done any of that. So the crystals might be helping to an extent, but obviously they are not going to take care of this on their own, or perhaps really even take care of this at all, depending on the crystals and how they are being used. Now, there's not one right way to cleanse and bless a home, but here are some suggestions I would give. First of all, when you do a cleansing, you also want to do a blessing. In my experience, when we do a cleansing, you're getting all the negativity and everything you don't want out of the home, all of the stagnation, you're getting it out, you're getting energy flowing again. And that is fantastic, right? But nature abhors a vacuum. And that's kind of what you're creating. If something goes out, then something else is going to want to come in. So to ensure you get what you want in, you need to follow up a cleansing with a blessing. That way you are clearing out everything you don't want and you are inviting in only what you do want. So when you are doing manifestation work, for example, and that's kind of what this cleansing and blessing process is, you need to make sure that you clear away what you don't need, the negative energy, all of that. You need to clear that all away so you make room for what you want to come in. And we don't think about that oftentimes when we're doing a cleansing of our physical space or ourself. When we're doing these spiritual cleansings, we often forget about directing then what we do want to come in. Now, you don't have to be super specific, but you can give the general, just a general blessing of the home, that you invite in love and prosperity and health and well-being and all of that. But a cleansing should be followed up, in my personal experience. You don't have to agree with me, but in my personal experience, we should be following up spiritual cleanses with a blessing so that we are saying, this is what I will allow to come into this space now that I've cleared out what doesn't belong there. Here are some things that I would recommend to this OP. If you have a similar situation or ever find yourself in a similar situation, these are things that you could try yourself. First off, physically clean the space, the entire house. Physically clean it. Give it what my family would call a good spring cleaning, no matter the time of the year. This means everything gets moved and cleaned. All knickknacks come off of shelves. The knickknacks are cleaned. The shelves are cleaned. Anything, poster frames or photo frames, they all get cleaned. If they're on the walls, whatever is on the walls gets cleaned. The walls get cleaned. It does not hurt to clean your ceiling as well. Ceiling fans and that get cleaned. Carpets get cleaned. All furniture gets moved. Take a vacuum over the furniture. Clean all the cobwebs. Get all the corners especially. Vacuum everything. Sweep everything. Mop everything. Everything gets cleaned. And I know this is exhausting. In my family, we had a tradition that we did do a spring cleaning every year and a fall cleaning every year. And my mother and I would go over to my grandmother's house and my great-grandmother's house. And so every spring and fall, I did a top to bottom cleaning of 3 houses, our own, my grandmother's, and my great-grandmother's. I can still smell the Murphy's Oil soap that we used to clean. Now, you can add a little bit of magic into your mundane physical cleaning of your space as you go so that you kind of overlap and double duty it a little bit. One thing that I have used is when I have lived in places that had carpeting, I would use baking soda mixed with essential oils and herbs to put down on the carpets. And you put it down on the carpets, it helps to get them actually physically clean, removes any odors and that. But you can use cleansing herbs, whatever your choice is, to add a little bit of magic to the baking soda on the carpets. You can, if you're mopping, you can use a magical water to mop your floors with. And if you are a member of the Patreon and you're listening to this in April when I am first putting it up, I am going to be doing a PDF on making and using magical waters. Floor waters will be in there. And if you're watching this after the fact, all of the stuff that previously got posted on the Patreon is still available to new members. So if you're watching this after April, it will still be there and available. Instead of using chemical store-bought cleansing solutions, I like to make my own household cleaner with vinegar, and then I will infuse it with various herbs depending on my purpose of that. Rosemary is one of my favorites, and I will spray down walls and surfaces with that to physically clean them as well as to spiritually cleanse the house or magically cleanse the house at the same time. If you're not familiar with doing that, they have done research on it. Vinegar kills almost as much bacteria as bleach. There are a couple of things that only bleach will kill, but for the average everyday stuff, vinegar is just as good as bleach. Like I said, there are a couple of things that vinegar won't get that bleach will, but not much. After the physical cleansing, then I recommend doing the spiritual cleansing. Now, if you have a method for doing that, great, use that. You can smoke cleanse. You can asperge, which is basically taking holy water that has had herbs added to it that then you use that to spiritually cleanse. You can also cleanse with sound, which is one of my favorite ways because my husband does not do well with incense or anything that I would have to burn. So I do a lot of sound cleansing. I have a singing bowl that I can use, but you can use bells, chimes, you can bang pots and pans together. After you've done that, then you can perform a house blessing. And what that will look like will vary from practitioner to practitioner. It can be as simple as lighting a candle in the heart of your home and saying a little blessing, or you could have a very elaborate ritual where you go from room to room. It all depends on how you as an individual practice. There isn't one right way to do it. It's just the way that is right for you as an individual. Then I would set up wards outside of the home and inside the home. Again, what this looks like will vary from practitioner to practitioner. It depends on your path and what types of wards you prefer or that your path says is the appropriate warding for you. I do, and I recommend that others do, use layers of warding. So not just one type of ward or a ward in one specific place. When possible, I like to have wards outside the home and inside the home, but I realize some living situations don't allow for that. Right now, where I am doing wards outside of the home, the apartment is very challenging, but it can be done in my particular case. I like to make sure that all windows and doors have a ward, and then I have the outside ward, the windows and doors warded as sort of like portal into the home warding, and then I have wards within the house as well. I would definitely recommend that the OP or you, if you're having a similar situation, start off with investigating mundane sources for the activity first and foremost. But even if there are mundane sources for the activity, it does not hurt to go through the physical, spiritual cleansing processes, the blessing process, and do wards. To be honest, we should all be doing that on a regular basis. All of those steps, depending on your lifestyle and your practice, how often and what they look like will be different for each of us, but I definitely recommend those just in general. But in this case where we do have something happening, we want to make sure that we do that, and we probably want to be doing maintenance work more frequently than we would normally. There are my 2 cents as someone who has been practicing paganism and witchcraft for 7 years now and who has been a medium pretty much her entire life. Let me know what your thoughts are. As always, if you've enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have posts, as I said before, that you'd like me to cover on the YouTube channel, make sure to let me know either in the comments or by getting in touch with me through the Discord. Until I see you again, my lovelies, blessings to you wherever your journey finds you.